Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and Immortal Hulk, issue number 12. There's that first appearance in here of the one below all. You're kind of looking at him, but he's a different color. Not too hard to guess what color he's going to be, because I think that he's one of those reflection. Mind you, it actually says he's a reflection creature. He's a reflection of the surface, so he's going to appear differently to everybody. So we've technically been seeing him all along. Let me get into who actually made this book. I've got a lot to explain in the book. All on that day. Al Ewing is the writer. Joe Bennett is on pencils for the main story. The inks for the main story is Roy Jose, and Eric Nien does the pencils and inks for the flashbacks. Paul Mounts does the covers, VC's Corey Petit does the letters, and Alex effing Ross does the cover. There's a bunch of variant covers. Thank you for the variant covers. And Jack Kirby and Stan Lee created the Hulk. So look, something happens here that's going to probably tick off a bunch of people. But there's going to be the longtime fans who just, whatever, they've got something to complain about all the freaking time. Whatever, man, their crotch hurts. Anyway, we get another version of an origin story for Banner's dad. I want you to remember that we haven't had an origin story for Banner's dad in a while. We haven't, yes, we've had them before, but this is Al Ewing's run. He's got to establish his origin story for Banner's dad, if that's actually who we're talking about in the first place. Because mind you, a lot of this stuff is happening in hell, and this is Hulk's hell. This is Hulk's hell. So while all of this crazy stuff is happening, like Puck is running around with the Absorbing Man, they're trying to reach someplace before it's too late. Air quotes there. I don't know exactly what that means. But goddamn, if there isn't a sense of suspense brought in here, a sense of timing, a sense of we're on the damn clock, son. Like, you remember reading or watching 24 back in the day? Man, those episodes had a way of, it's like it's always the same thing. We're going to put this on a timer, and somehow everything's going to be solved by the end of the episode, which is going to take place in about 24 hours. Except that more than this, it's what do you call, for the series, the 24 hours. Except the trick is, we know that everything's going to work out in the end. Yet there's still that sense of tension, that sense of, holy crap, they don't have time for this nonsense. Pretty much the exact same thing is happening here. This is insane. Look, I used to do, not publishing, but I used to accept books when I was working in Saudi for a while as a side gig. I did it over the internet with a friend of mine. And I used to have to accept or reject books based on the company's standards. Unfortunately, everything in this world is mostly cookie cutter, all right? Our laws are cookie cutter. The judges aren't allowed to make their own judgments on things. They've got to follow the cookie cutter laws that we've got preset out there, which means that there is no room for, yeah, but this is a special case. It doesn't matter. You did this, therefore, bang. What do you call it? Our school systems are cookie cutters. Our workplaces are cookie cutters. Just all these different things that we do. It's all preordained. It's all preset. These are the standards. These are the guidelines. This is the standardized way of doing things. And it sucks. It absolutely sucks. Unfortunately, when I was working at this company, there were comic books that I had to turn down because they simply didn't match our formats that we expected for them to come in, even though a lot of these were really good stories. And, a lot of stories coming in, I had to do a lot of writing to explain to people. I didn't want, bad feelings. I didn't want people to, get turned down and rejected and feel rejected, even though they're being rejected. One of the main things that causes that is if the writer can't explain exactly where the comic book belongs in a genre, in a field. Should it be kids? Should it be adults? Should it be fiction? Which kind of fiction? Adult fiction? Sci-fi, fantasy? Should it be nonfiction? Should it be self-help? Where does the book belong in the damn bookstore? What category does it belong in? All right, when people come in to look at a new book, where are they supposed to go to find your book? So if someone doesn't know that, if they have two or more ideas of where the book belongs, the book is automatically rejected. Exactly. It's weird, right? In some ways, that's a good thing. In some ways, that's a bad thing. It's a bad thing because sometimes there are amazing ideas that are simply too huge for one single category. And a lot of times we wind up missing those stories. We, as humans, wind up missing those stories. Everybody's got a story to tell. You have a story to tell. Will you ever get that story out? Don't know. Maybe you've got more than one. But everybody's got a very interesting story to tell. Not everybody's going to find interest in it, though. You got to find your target audience. You got to find everything that you need in order to convey your story. So there are a lot of stories that we miss, that we never hear of, that don't ever get written. And this is one of those kind of situations where I have to sit back and be very grateful to Marvel for allowing someone, after he's proved himself, as Al Ewing definitely has, to be able to tell this story that doesn't fit in a single genre, a single subclass, a single class even. This is, you read this comic book and you think only this happened. Just look at the part where Hulk cries. Yes, peeps, Hulk cries in this. Look at the scene where Hulk cries. Look at before and after. He is asked who he is, and then someone else is asked for. The reporter asks to speak with somebody else. Oh, somebody else answers. Is it who she asked for? This comic book is one of those things where there's a couple of big things out there that are just the mundane things that certain people who want to hate on a comic book, and I'm not trying to apologize for this. I don't have to be an apologist for this comic book in any way, shape, or form. This comic book does well. All right? This comic book is awesome. It is loved. It is what it is. If you don't like the comic book, go read another comic book. But there's real talk. I see things in here that I hear people talking about, like, if you want to see where the story came from, go and look at Twin Peaks. That's cool. That's cool. As long as it doesn't go any further than that. Because one thing I could tell you from having accepted and rejected a lot of stories coming in, every single story has two crucial elements. One, the writer writes about himself. Two, the writer writes about his or her influences. There is no book out there in existence that is not based on influence. You want proof? Probably the most famous book out there, the Bible. It was influenced. And if you find that insulting, you really don't understand what I mean by influence. Every book is inspired in some way, shape, or form or another. Every single book by something that came before it, by some predecessor or another, as well as this book. If Twin Peaks is where they came from, cool. I'm glad to hear it. I love that inspiration that Al Ewing had for it. The thing is, the big things that may appear gloomy and right away like a turnoff to some people, that's fine. We can afford to lose those people. But for those of us who like to look a little bit deeper and look at the little parts like, oh, why is Hulk crying? I don't want to see a Hulk that cries. Good. You missed it. You missed it. Sometimes our prejudices allow us to miss things that are crucial to a story, that you can tell this is going to be important. Hulk is cycling through his alters. Oh, he doesn't like to be called that. We're not always getting the people who we think we're talking to. Remember, they all look the same. If you really liked Split, and you liked everything but the ending for, what have you, Glass, all right, the M. Night Shyamalan films. If you like that, I think buckle your seatbelt because you're going to get a little bit of that here. This is a very interesting take on Hulk that I'm so glued to. All right? Fantastic book. This is amazing. This is kind of like a fan fiction that has been picked up by somebody who really knows the business, some insider who just took it and conglomerated it all together and said, now we're going to make this into something amazing. So I believe this is a book for pretty much everybody. If not, you're only looking at the big picture. You got to look at the minutia here because that's what's terrifying and interesting all at the same time about this book. Love this book. Anyway, guys, go grab the book. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.